मुश्किल हर एक ट्रांजैक्शन है, ये ऐप नहीं एक टेंशन है। मुश्किल से ही चलती है और कदम कदम
If I could request everyone to please come inside the hall. We are all set to start today's proceedings. We have some very interesting speakers and lineup of sessions. If I could quickly recap the gems that we garnered yesterday, starting with course correction and redefining direction. बहुत important topic है and very, very relevant to us as Pakistanis where we stand today. We have the strategic assets. We are positioned so magnificently on this Asian continent. We have working borders with so many nations. Yet our inability to utilize our potential has been a problem, an issue, a critical one, if I may say so. And in order to address those concerns, our platform, that is of the Future Summit, has been fundamentally significant. We've had some great conversations. A lot of those conversations have illustrated into actionable plans. If I could say that TFS has been impactful, I will not be overstating. So we spoke about course correction, we spoke about redefining direction, we spoke about global insights, and we spoke about local action. We mentioned a growth story. Pakistan is now almost closing in on 8 decades of existence, and it is a rather worrisome issue that we are still talking about the potential and not the impact. Intelligence was reimagined. We spoke about the artificial side of it and the impact of neural network on what we do today, how we are all becoming part of tech. We spoke about reputation and influence in terms of trade, tariff, investment, diplomacy, and of course, strategization, stratification, infrastructural development. So all these issues came together yesterday, giving us a very strong foundation to build our discourse today. To begin the day today, we have 2 very informed and very engaging gentlemen, and I'll be introducing them. Fourth industrial revolution is, of course, tech and AI, and how it has swept literally the carpet from under our feet. But then we are also talking about the industrial green revolution. Green, ladies and gentlemen, is a very, very wide field, and we will be delving deep into it. But to begin the day with formal proceedings, we will have our Qirat and then the national anthem.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu as-samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad, wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad.
Sadaqallahu Lazim. If I could request everyone to please rise for the anthem, a very beautiful anthem.
Zमीन
Thank you so much. So going back to our start of the day, we have a very interesting session here on shaping the new climate economy. So the economy is also getting the green color, and it is very much needed. We need to be compliant with the new ESG paradigm, or we face a survival threat, as they call it, the existential threat. So we will be joined for this by, as I mentioned earlier, two very engaging gentlemen who will be throwing light on climate resilience, how it has become the new measure of competitiveness. The session will be hosted by Spectreco LLC, how it unpacks new green technology, carbon markets, climate financing, and how it stands to transform Pakistan's economic fabric, with references to the green industrial revolution, sustainable trade frameworks. The dialogue will emphasize regional cooperation, and as we now say, collaboration above cooperation, particularly with South and East Asian economies to build low-carbon, high-opportunity markets. The future belongs to the economies that decouple growth from emissions. And that is something that these two gentlemen will be elaborating upon, and invest in innovation that heals. So the magic word here is healing and decoupling growth from emissions. We will be joined by Faraz Khan. If I may request you, Faraz, to come please join us on stage. And claps, please, ladies and gentlemen. CEO and Managing Partner, Spectreco LLC USA. With over 25 years in ESG policy and impact development, Faraz leads global sustainability transitions through data-driven solutions at Spectreco. Founder of Seed Ventures, he has mobilized multi-million-dollar impact investments across sectors and was conferred an MBE by King Charles III for his services to ESG and climate advocacy. Joining Faraz on stage is Sajid Aslam, needs no introduction. Sajid is partner and co-founder Spectreco LLC USA with 25 years of global leadership experience. Sajid specializes in ESG investing, climate finance, and economic policy advisory. A seasoned speaker and an INSEAD alumnus, he collaborates with governments worldwide to advance sustainable growth, circular economy principles, and climate resilience. Sajid, if I could request you to please take over from here. Thank you. Sajid Aslam, ladies and gentlemen, and Faraz.
Thank you, Shah. Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Guys, we need some energy. We are going to talk about money. Anybody interested in money? Economic, financial prosperity? So let's talk about that. So just giving you a little bit context, whenever we are talking about a course correction and defining the direction, what does it take? Any idea? Intent? Anything else? Strategy. Roadmap. There's a one thing, a very, very fundamental thing. Sorry? Success criteria. Learnings, implementation. We need a very bold leader to define something new, right? When you are changing something, right, you are defining a new course, you are defining a new direction, it takes courage. It's easy to have that discussion. It's very difficult to have that courage to challenge the status quo and move to a new direction where uncertainty is there, where we don't know what the success measure will look like. It's anybody's best guess. But we have still seen that happen in the history. People who were determined enough, they put together that team, they had that vision, they had the intent, they learned new things, they stay very, very flexible, and they change the course of the direction of the entire nation. So here we are talking about the word correction, so definitely there is a stuff which we are going to talk, which may not be right today, which may be excellent and relevant 10, 15, 20 years back, but now it might require a change. And change requires courage. And that comes from the leaders who do not predict future, who create future. So starting from that very basic, if we can have the slides here. Thank you. So what happened? Let's set the context first. In the last 5, 10 years, there are two major items which have changed and which are impacting the economy and the nation. The one is the technology side, and the second is the crisis we have seen on the climate side. Now, every crisis could be an opportunity if we get the right leaders in a room and they start talking about what to do. We have seen in a very, very recent past where one crisis brought the entire nation together and created a very solid brand for Pakistan, which has created, again, opportunities for us around the world. But it happened not because there was a crisis, because there was a leadership who was courageous enough, bold enough, visionary enough to pick up that crisis and convert that into an opportunity. And that's exactly what we are going to talk today. So when we talk about the climate smart economy, what exactly we are going to talk, where the economy has got a very fundamental structure. Any economy, any nation, whenever we talk about that, what the economic prosperity look like, it's based on these 8 components, starting from education, competitiveness, innovation, technology, economic output. We talk about the share in the global trade. We talk about the military strength, the financial market, and the reserve currency. So these are the fundamental 8 components which define where we are. And based on that, we identify our journey, where we are in that journey. We are at the journey where we have got working on a higher share in a global economy, or we are at the stage where our currency should be considered as a reserve currency. And you can see that shift in the last 20, 25 years, where there was one single economic power, and now we are seeing multiple economic powers emerging. And some of the economic powers are not even visible right now, but they are also emerging because they have delinked and redefined their course, and they are defining a new action and direction for themselves as well as in the region. So if you look at Pakistan, okay. So if we look at Pakistan, so we have got the 4 key areas where we stand today. We recommend to focus. It's the education, it's the competitiveness, it's the innovation technology, and financial markets. And when we are sitting in Pakistan and we talk about the financial market, sometimes it's not something which everybody can digest, but I think Pakistan is sitting on a certain opportunity right now where we can act not only for ourselves, but we can set the criteria and an example that how this financial market and a new financial market which is emerging can be leveraged to really fund that education, competitiveness, and innovation and technology. And when we talk about education, we are not talking about education only like the traditional education. We are talking about skills. We are talking about our behaviors. We are talking about our attitude. We are talking about the leadership here. And again, if we look at the overall examples, we have seen Bangladesh picked up one area and they changed their course of direction. If we pick up Rwanda, which was practically a war-ridden area, they picked up 1 or 2 items and they changed their course of direction. We picked up Vietnam, which has gone through the war and everything, and we look at that, and they have changed their course direction, and they have changed that, they have redefined their KPIs as well as how they would like to be known in the country, in the world. So we are not talking about something which hasn't happened in the past. And we are not talking something which Pakistan has not done in the past either. We are talking just to recognize where the opportunity, where to focus. We can't do everything in the same time. So if we are looking at the time frame, the things have to be done in a very focused way and collectively. Again, we have got a very interesting dimensions, and again, we will talk about this as a crisis first. We have seen floods, we have seen droughts, we have seen very recently the change of climate, how it has impacted wheat as a produce. But at the same time, if we look at, do we have a plan? We talked about that, we need a plan. So we do have a plan. We are talking about agriculture, we are talking about inclusion, we are talking about urban resilience, we are talking about human capital, disaster risk management, and there's a plan which exists out there. And it's not only a plan, it has got the details, it's submitted, it's a commitment from the government side. So it exists. So it's not that we don't have plan or initiative or we don't know where the priorities are. It's already identified. Natural capital is already recognized the forestation and the biodiversity as one of a key priority in our climate priorities as well as national adaptation plan. Then if we look at the foundation, and that's where we have to start working, whenever we talk about the investment, the first thing come to play, and that was discussed yesterday as well, it's the trust and the partnership. No country has really survived or progressed unless until there is a public-private partnerships. And we have seen a lot of public-private partnership failures in Pakistan. But you will be surprised there are certain public-private partnerships in Pakistan which is creating right now a global benchmark how things should be done. That includes the Sindh People's Housing Project for flood affectees. It includes Sutra Punjab as one of a waste management. So we are seeing those areas which are very much climate focused. The start is basically to provide a citizen service, but right now it's the best benchmark how the public-private partnership can work with such a constrained resources and can create such a huge scale, speed, and scope which become a global benchmark. Similarly, if we look at the domestic investment, the sectoral breadth, we can't invest in everything. We have to again prioritize that, and then we have to channelize that capital to that direction. And every sector at the moment we need to pick has to be climate resilient, enough climate resilient to sustain that one. Agriculture, water scarcity, even the talent development, human capital development, everything has to be directed or linked with how we can make sure any climate-induced disaster should not destroy that sector or industry, and there has to be a value chain concept. No industry can survive in its isolation unless until there is a complete value chain integration. If we talk about the automobile as an industry, we need somebody to really manufacture tire, nuts, bolts, steel, vendor ecosystem, and we have seen that happen in Pakistan as well. Or we can talk about value integrations or a value chain integration in the region. So value chain integration is another step which is important to mobilize the domestic investment. And then another piece I'll just pick up as a part of that conversation. In a recent past, we are not talking about the small amount which is allocated to Pakistan. We are talking about 15, 20, 30 billion dollars which exist out there for Pakistan in next 5 to 10 years. The question is, are we ready to really access that funding? What does it take? Are we ready? Do we have a regional or local frameworks to access that kind of financial support which exists out there and allocated? It's not the money which we have to go and get it allocated. The money is already there. We need those projects or provide them with the project pipeline where that domestic investment and this international investment can work together and create a massive scale, large scales project which are climate resilient and can really contribute towards the prosperity of the country. And luckily, the entire framework is already there. So the Pakistan has already gone through that climate finance strategy. Pakistan has got the carbon market policy, but the most important part which is required to access that funding is called taxonomies. Very recently, Pakistan has got that taxonomy in place. We have got green banking initiative from the State Bank, and we have got SECP ESG disclosures as well as the labeled bonds which exist out there. So if we go back, this is the international money sitting there. This is the framework which already in place. What we need to do? What do you think? What is required now? And what does that implementation will require? Leaders. So we need those leaders because it's not a regular product. But luckily, we have seen very recently in UAE, for the private sector, they have disbursed $10 billion using sustainability-linked loans as one of our instruments. We have seen in UAE, they have allocated 1 trillion dirham to be invested in the green projects, not only in UAE, they are open to invest that in other countries as well. We have seen in Pakistan where the State Bank is asking that at least tell us how green is your portfolio, and by November, every project they want to fund through the banking channel or DFI channel, they would like to evaluate whether there is an environment and social risk, how the environment and social risk is there. So if we put everything together, so we are seeing the successes in the different part of the world. If we look at Pakistan, there is a framework which is already there. We are seeing a couple of large group who are going to use ESG as one of a vehicle to really channelize or do the capital allocation accordingly. So if all that is happening, so on the other side of the table, we have to start looking for those projects and the businesses to get ready and start accessing that fund. If I tell you, in Pakistan, we talk a lot about the funding and availability of the funding. When we talk on a global forum, all the funds and the financial institutions and the private equity side, and the public funds as well, they are all talking about, guys, we are unable to deploy our money, right? So their issue is that they have got fund and they cannot deploy that fund because there are not enough projects which are aligned with the key criteria which provides the climate mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. Only European Investment Bank is short by 20 to 30 billion euro deployment every year for last 3 years just because they don't have enough project pipeline. So it's a very different issue. There is a projects, there are people who want to access money and they can't, and there are people who are sitting with the big money and they can't find those particular projects to invest in. The role comes here for the banks, for the DFIs, for the financial institution, financial services, to create those financial instruments which can help to channelize that capital and allocate using the Pakistan Green Taxonomy to the right projects. And the second part, from a business side, they need to implement that data and the measuring, verification, and reporting tools to make sure whatever the criteria they are going to commit, they should be able to report it back. And luckily, SECP has already provided that guideline, how to report and what to report. So now, leaders sitting in this room have some role to play to bring everything together and create that opportunity for capital allocation to the right project alongside with the proper MRV, which is measurement, reporting, and the verification process. And we are good to go. But again, it will require that leader or those type of leader who are not predicting the future, but they are there to create one for us and for generations to come. So thank you very much for listening. This is the context we will be using for our conversation, and then we will open the forum for question answers. So I'll invite, and I'll sit there and I'll invite Faraz to share his global perspective. He just coming from Canada. He was in the Middle East region as well. He was in Europe recently. So what they are seeing in the different part of the world, what's happening, what we can learn from them. So I'll come to you, Faraz, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Sajid elaborates and explains things in a very extensive and comprehensive manner. I'm more of a simple person. So let me start with two paradigms, exactly what he stated, but in an anecdotal as well as an anomaly process way. पहला anecdotal ये है कि अभी recently, last year in fact, we were invited by New York Stock Exchange, and there was a panel discussion with BlackRock, ourselves, and Intercontinental Exchange, which is a company that owns New York Stock Exchange, and they provide data and technology to 70 capital markets of the world. And the room was filled with the CEOs and managing directors of 130 plus wealth management institutions. और इस पूरे 2.5 घंटे के process में conversation क्या थी? So in this decade, we are seeing the biggest intergenerational wealth transfer that is happening all across the world. यानी पिछली generation से नई generation के पास $68 trillion plus की wealth transfer हो रही है. Just imagine the quantum. So we are looking at an intergenerational wealth transfer of $68 trillion plus, and 130 plus wealth management institutions in the world are wondering कि green, sustainability, ESG क्या role play करेंगे इस wealth transfer में. सवाल ये था वहाँ कि इस नई generation जो कि consume भी करेगी और invest भी करेगी, इनके consumption thesis और इनके investment thesis इस lens के साथ कैसे बदलेंगे? क्या green, ESG, sustainability, consumption और investment के paradigm को alter करेगी, change करेगी, या it's irrelevant? 2.5 घंटे की deliberations के बाद एक मुत्तफ़िका राय ये आई कि going forward, this $68 trillion consumption and investment both would have a cornerstone lens of sustainability, green and ESG. So आपका सबसे बड़ा जो global stakeholder है, वो इसको एक cornerstone बना रहा है. So that's one part of the changing landscape where capital that Sajid mentioned is moving and already moved towards that. So that's one opportunity. ये साइड पे हो गया. चलें, एक सवाल है आप लोगों से कि चेस कौन-कौन खेलता है यहाँ? How many of you understand the chess board? Quite a few. So right now, the world is playing a 4-dimensional chess against nature. When I say 4-dimensional chess, उसके बड़े interesting parameters हैं इस वक्त, जिसमें geopolitics, regulation, capital, trade और FDI सारे integrated हैं. Let me take a step back. Mandatory reporting, जिससे सब बड़े परेशान होते हैं on ESG, is happening all across the world. Europe has already become mandatory reporting. APAC region is going through a mandatory reporting phase. Saudi, UAE, and Middle East is in the next 2 years will become mandatory reporting. We recently were in China. China is the supplier of the world. Guess what is happening over there? So Chinese government has committed to two things very clearly, that by 2030, China will peak its emissions. And by 2060, they will achieve the target of carbon neutrality through their transition mechanism. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is something very powerful. The supplier of the world in products and services has committed that it is moving in that direction. The global ESG paradigm is moving towards mandatory reporting. Where is Pakistan? Yesterday, I was listening to our finance minister's speech, and he, amongst many other things, focused on two things: population and climate. Now, let me bring that climate point to what Sajid just shared. Pakistan has the opportunity to move from 2G to 3G to directly 7G vis-a-vis green and ESG. What is required? The policy and framework, taxonomies, alhamdulillah, we are already in play there. Is money available? Absolutely. Money is available from across the world, whether it's pension funds, sovereign funds, loss and damage funds, the number is already there. So climate finance is available, your taxonomy and policy and frameworks are there. What is missing to achieve that? It's the capability of all the industries that are sitting on these tables, their ability to understand and implement the local, regional, and global frameworks into their systems. इसका impact खाली institutional level पे नहीं आएगा. We have a framework called ICIS. Individuals, communities, institutions, and systemic transformation. Systemic transformation, we are achieving that. Great policy frameworks already embedded. Community resilience, adaptation, mitigation, we all know about. Direct impact is on individuals. Missing link कहाँ है? कि हमारे funds, asset managers, banks, insurance companies who are the distributors of these regulations and have an end-to-end exposure to the transactions, they need to enable and integrate these policy frameworks, local and global, for FDIs, for trade and exports. The quicker we do that, the better it would be for us as an economy. And lastly, I just want to stress on one thing. Please, let's change the paradigm on two fronts. Number one, sustainability is not a cost. Sustainability is an investment, and it is an intergenerational investment. Secondly, please do not take sustainability or ESG as merely compliance and risk. It is an opportunity for ROI. It is an opportunity for valuation gain. It is an opportunity for price premium. It is an opportunity for market growth. It is an opportunity for access to capital. If we transform these two thinkings, in the next 2 to 5 years, Pakistan could be actually a contributor to the solutions rather than just asking for the loss and damage fund. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Faraz. And we can open the floor for question. Meanwhile, if there's any question, if somebody can raise hand and we can. Okay, so there's a question there.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. Just wanted to have some idea about a guideline for the university, because where you can find some new generations So do you have any kind of a roadmap so that we can get this green economy with the help of this young generation that we are teaching at the university? Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you. So I think from a university, first we have to see how we should be structuring the education right now, given the urgency and the opportunity. So there is a certain learnings or a skill which working professionals have to develop. That might be a 20 hours to 30 hours training. That's what it takes. Or for the board level, 4 to 8 hours training to understand this space. So this is important. So the opportunity first identified at the corporate and the public sector level, and at the same time, we have to create that talent to take it over in the next 5 to 10 years, because these working professionals will start working on something today, and then there has to be a talent pipeline. So for university, I think the ESG or climate is one of a subject which we are seeing more and more embedded in every area of knowledge, whether you are talking about engineering, computer sciences, humanities, accounting, finance, or any profession you pick up, banking side of it, any type of profession you pick up, the climate consideration is there. And there are courses which are available, and they are publicly available as well, online as well. You can have a very specialized one where you can learn about it. So for university, I always suggest to start with a very small, the online courses which are available, and try to help the student to run in an assisted mode. So don't let them do that independently. They are very young to understand some of the terminology. So run maybe a 2-hour session in an assisted way, and then start embedding that in the curriculum, that what the climate or ESG dimensions mean for any profession. But globally, this is the direction universities are taking in terms of building that talent going forward. And, okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
May I? Okay. So the question comes to both of you, Faraz and Sajid. We've seen the e-challan becoming very effective, and everybody's stopping at signals even at 3 a.m. Penalty works better in terms of, instead of incentives. So when we talk about ESG compliance, is there a penalty framework for non-compliance? Because I think that would bring the landscape change that we are talking about.
Sure. So you want to take first, and then I'll bring the Pakistan.
Hello, yeah. Which is very unfortunate. Thank you for this question, actually. We as humans, unfortunately, respond more towards saza rather than doing the right thing on its own. And that's the nature of the human race, as well as the systems that have evolved over decades. In the evolved mandatory reporting environments, penalties are very much in place. और penalties के इनकी दो अक़साम हैं. एक जो कि अगर आप claim करते हैं कुछ कि आप green हैं और regulator इस चीज़ को पकड़ लेता है कि वो green नहीं है, तो severe penalties हैं. Recently, I won't take the name, but there are 2 funds in Europe that were penalized between $60 to $80 million simply because they claimed that their portfolio was green, and when the regulators actually went in detail, they realized it was not. So reputational damage, as well as financial damage, it is happening all across the world. So this is going to happen in Pakistan, in all these environments in times to come. So it's better to prepare now. Number 2, you must be hearing that recently communities are suing governments for not doing enough. Now that is another form of penalty for the governments. If, like in Switzerland, the communities sued the Swiss government for not doing enough. In India as well, there was a recent case, and in some other countries as well, it's evolving. And these precedences are creating repercussions for businesses as well as the governments. So you will see in times to come that ये जो penalties की ये 2 किस्में हैं, वो उसका फ्रीक्वेंसी और इम्पैक्ट बढ़ता जाएगा, जिससे बिजनेसेस और इंडस्ट्रीज मेजरली सफ़र करेंगे.
Thank you, Shah. I'll just add on that one. I think we have to see the behavior from a two different perspective. One is the behavior which is an individual behavior. जो अब हम इंडिविजुअल बिहेवियर की बात करते हैं तो हमारा, और अभी मैं बाकी दुनिया पे नहीं जाता, I'll just stick to पाकिस्तान. हम इंडिविजुअली हमारा जनरल बिहेवियर ये होता है जहन्नुम से बचना है. जन्नत में जाने के लिए जो काम करना है उस पर हम इतना फोकस नहीं करते, जहन्नुम से बचने का पहला हमारा होता है. लेकिन यही चीज़ जब आप बिजनेस पे लेके जाते हैं तो nobody is running a business to avoid that blended instrument, and those are being tested as well. So those exist out there. So guys, thank you very much. Our time is up. I hope you got some understanding that how the climate as a crisis can be converted into opportunity for the capital allocation. And again, the nations who have used the crisis to convert or change the course of direction or course correction, that really helped them to come up very, very strong and capitalize on something which people were not thinking. But again, it will take that kind of leadership, the plan, the KPIs, the execution. But in our case, most of the people are sitting in this room. They just have to make decision and integrate their thought process and the businesses and bring the financial services and the businesses together to create something new and access that kind of funding. So thank you very much.
For us, I think this was so wonderful and very actionable items, especially the ICIS format, and we can all start at an individual level. I don't think we need a big conglomerate to do things that we can do by saving trees, by planting more trees, by ensuring no plastic in our lives and stuff like that. छोटे छोटे काम हैं, आसान सहल ज़ुबान में अगर ये बन जाएं, छोटे I don't know, booklets, things that we can do at individual level or आसान ज़ुबान में हो, so that even children and, you know, a layman can understand कि हम अपने individual level पे ये कर सकते हैं. So a lot of fascinating conversation. 4-dimensional chess was absolute. I'm going to pick your brains on that for us later. लेकिन सबसे interesting था $68 trillion being transferred intergenerational. I hope I'm one of the recipients, but I don't know whether I'm in that list or not, but this was like super fascinating. Thank you so much. May I please request our Sir Sohail and Sir Shehzad to please join us on stage, and Harun Qasim Saab, Managing Director, Farm Evo Private Limited, for our memento ceremony. We have our traditional books coming as mementos. If I could request Harun Qasim Saab to please give the memento to Faraz. Faraz Khan, CEO and Managing Partner, Spectreco, LLC, USA. If we could have some claps, this will bring a lot of energy back in our room. This was an early morning session, and I think we were so thoroughly engaged in this conversation. If we could have one for Sajid, partner and co-founder, Spectreco, LLC, USA. And now for the group photo. Thank you. Over to you, Farooq.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, and a very, very good morning to all of you. I'm glad to see that the seats are filling up, and actually they are filled up now. Great. So, my name is Syed Farooq Hassan. I'd like to formally welcome all of you once again to the Future Summit, the 9th edition. I think a very enlightening morning session on climate change, which is the buzzword, and a very, very critical aspect these days globally. Two things that my pick, one, I really like the way that it was said that future is not predicted, it is created by leaders, and that's exactly the way it happens. And secondly, how a crisis can be converted into an opportunity. So we all need to have that vision and look to do that. Okay, so COVID, the pandemic, taught the world many lessons. You know, we were all used to live in a certain way, in a certain manner, and then all of that changed. COVID came, we couldn't get out of our houses, we couldn't socially interact, all the wealth, all the profits and all were just lying there, nowhere to spend, where to spend. So, you know, it raised a lot of important questions. Where are we headed? What do we want to do as mankind, as a human race? So our next session today is Beyond Profit, Purpose, People, and Progress. When I mentioned about COVID, and I mentioned the way it changed all our lives, we started focusing on areas which were probably not on our radar before COVID, or even if they were, they weren't talked about as much. And that was how to create a sustainable society, a better world for all human beings to live in. For all the organizations, that was a very important question, because all that we were told right from childhood was that the main purpose is to make more money, create profit, and that was the goal. But what about human development? What about the society development? What about the country development? What about the sustainable development goals? What about carbon credits? What about green credits? You know, all those things. And then everyone started talking about it. And, you know, we've had a lot of conferences and a lot of focus groups all around globally on this. In this session, we will explore the stakeholder capitalism, where people, planet, and progress matter as much as profit, if not more. Leaders will discuss how ethical leadership, inclusion, and social investment they can future-proof enterprises. And that's a very difficult term, future-proof. How can we future-proof ourselves? For Pakistan, this is a call to integrate values-driven management into corporate DNA, from gender equity, and of course, the leadership, development, and educational access. We have a very eminent panel of speakers, and I'll be introducing them one by one, and I'd like you to put your hands together. First of all, up front we have a very young, bright, dynamic gentleman by the name of Sami Waheed. He is the General Manager, Coca-Cola Pakistan and Afghanistan region, and has more than 2 decades in marketing, sales, and strategy, and he's leading Coca-Cola's Pakistan and Afghanistan operations. Can we have Sami Waheed on the stage, please? He's a proud Pakistani. Up next, we have another very eminent personality. She's the Senior Advisor, Franklin Covey, Pakistan. We've seen her on TV a lot, on different talk shows also. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Andaleeb Abbas. She's a leadership coach, author, and educator, and has more than 30 years of experience in consulting Fortune 500 firms and development agencies. You can sit. Yeah. Okay, then we have another very, very senior personality. He is the Managing Director, Farm Evo Private Limited. He's a CPA and MBA, and he's a respected leader in Pakistan's pharma industry. And he is the former chairman of PPMA. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Haroon Qasim. Up next, we have Mr. Asif Ahmed, who is the Group Chief Business Solutions Officer, PTCL Group, and he's a technology strategist with 23 years of experience and has led multi-million-dollar portfolios across telecom. And Asif Ahmed sir will be joining us online. So I'm sure the arrangements have been made. Then we have Mr. Muhammad Samiullah Siddiqui. He's the Chief Financial Officer, Oxford University Press, and he's the Vice President of ICAP also. He has been in the finance industry for more than 25 years in leadership roles at Siemens and other leading multinationals. This session will be moderated by the Director and Chief Executive Officer of Nutshell Group, Ms. Rabia Ahmed, who is a communications and project development leader with more than 24 years of experience, and she has served in various sectors including defense, telecom, and higher education. Can we please have Ms. Rabia Ahmed on stage? Please put your hands together.
Okay. So, Momina, can you please join us on stage?
Yeah, okay.
Momina
We have
Tariq.
one more speaker. Sorry, it's my bad. It's Momina Tariq. She's the Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer, OICCI Bank. Thank you, Momina. Over to you, Rabia.
Thank you. So, Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody. Nice and early. So, welcome all my panelists. This is a session that I am personally very excited about moderating, because we'll be discussing something which is much deeper than revenue, bottom lines, margins, profits. We will be discussing the why behind the what. And we will be doing that with a very exciting panel. I think this is a very diverse panel. There are 3 women, including myself, and there are 3 men, so we've really balanced it out. I would briefly just talk about my these inspiring leaders that are part of my panel. They're walking the talk every day. They're driving innovation. They're bringing about change, meaningful impact on society in whatever fields they are working in. So we have from one of the most loved beverage brands, Sami Wahid, driving youth empowerment, innovation. We have Ma'am Andaleeb. I'm personally very honored to be hosting her in this panel. She's a consultant, leadership coach, trainer, academic, and writer who's been recognized by the World Bank as one of the top 30 strategic thinkers worldwide. Thank you, ma'am. Then we have from an innovation-focused pharmaceutical sector company that redefines ethical healthcare, and a leader who strongly believes in value-based conduct. We have Harun Qasim Saab. He combines corporate success with a deep sense of purpose and humanity. And then online we have Asif. Hello Asif, can you hear us? So Asif represents PTCL, connecting millions of people every day, the digital backbone of the nation. Asif, are we audible?
Absolutely, and assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope, Rabia, I am also audible.
Yes, you're audible, and good to see that you're feeling a little better. So Asif couldn't join us in person because he was down with a viral infection. Thank you, Asif, for joining us online. Then we have someone who leads financial strategy and compliance at an organization whose name is synonymous with learning and education. We have Samiullah with us, who's the CFO of OUP. And then we have Momina, who's also a dear friend. I've known her husband longer than I've known her, but somehow we've also struck a very close friendship. She drives growth via human capital strategies, and she's worked in a very diverse set of industries. She's the Chief Human Resources Officer for OICCI Bank. So with the rich experience that this panel is going to bring, with their knowledge and with their positive energy and their continuous commitment to do well by doing good, I think we're going to have a very thought-provoking and a very interesting session. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be exploring what true success looks like. How do we go towards an area which is beyond numbers. You know, what is the purpose beyond these numbers? How do we empower our people, and how do we make sure that the success we achieve is actually meaningful and it's sustainable? So we're going to start by a quick question that I'd like to throw at all the panelists, and I'd like a 30-second statement of purpose from each of you. When I say beyond profit, what does that mean to each of you? 30 seconds, please. Momina.
It is, for me, it's all about people, because outside of profit, when I think it's all about people, how are we managing the people, how are we driving purpose through the people, and how are we developing the people to give meaning to the work that they do?
Profit keeps you operational, purpose keeps you relevant. For a brand that is 140 years old, could not have thrived for so long if it did not have a purpose.
Excellent.
So purpose keeps you relevant.
Sami.
I would say the purpose, because the purpose is a centerpiece of the complete strategy, and whether it is financial or a human strategy. So the purpose is there that drives the progress and also supports the people.
Thank you. Dilip.
I think human beings are wired for a higher meaning. Human beings want a narrative which lifts them, and that narrative comes from the purpose. When you have a purpose, you exist as a company, as an individual, and as a human being. Take the purpose away, you perish. So does the company.
Thank you. Harun Saab.
I think if you have lost the purpose and you don't have any purpose in the life or in your own organization, I think then the profit has no soul, what you're aspiring for. So I think purpose is the most important thing in anyone's life.
Thank you. So I think at the very outset, we've seen that everybody's spoken about two things, purpose and people. और जैसे आपने कहा हारून साहब, हम सबकी ज़िंदगी का एक पर्पज़ है, हमारे इस दुनिया में आने का एक पर्पज़ है, you know, हमारे relationships का एक पर्पज़ है. So I think purpose is at the center of what we're going to discuss today, and that is what's setting the tone. So now we're going to delve into each of these verticals. We're going to talk about purpose, we will talk about people, we'll talk about sustainable progress, and then, you know, we'll see what picture emerges when we combine the three. So I'm going to start with you, Sami. You're leading one of the most recognized consumer brands, and you're working in a very fast-paced market, a very fast-evolving market. So from your perspective, what does it mean to truly go beyond profit and to make it a part of your company's DNA for a company as large, as diverse, as spread as Coca-Cola?
Thank you, Rabia. So for Coke, like what I've said, it would have not been possible for a brand to survive for 140 years if it did not had a purpose, and if it was only focusing on profit.
Can everybody hear us? Because if there is a problem with any of the mics, I'd request the volunteers to please fix them. Thank you.
Am I audible? Is it better?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So 140 years could not have survived. So for Coke purpose is about refreshing the world and making a difference. So when you hold a cold Coke bottle in your hand, it is not only with the purpose of refreshing that moment or refreshing your meal. It's also about that as a brand, how a brand could go and uplift people emotionally, socially. And I'll give you an example. From a Pakistan perspective, I think Coke Studio is a great example where Coke as a brand celebrates the cultural diversity of the country, where Coke as a brand brings the old tunes with the modern arrangement, and with the music uplifts the spirit of the nation, and something that we also very proudly showcases globally as well. The use of sports, example through FIFA, through OICCI sponsorships, that how as a brand Coke could go and uplift the emotions that revolves around music, that revolves around culture, that revolves around the passion points that you follow. Similarly, it is also about making a difference, and making a difference in the areas where you matter the most. So couple of themes that Coke as a company does work around is on water stewardship. So we have a project which is ongoing with WWF, where Coke Foundation has invested billions of dollars in Pakistan to ensure that the underground water aquifers are being replenished. When Coke as a company is putting investments in multiple RO plants, there are about 150 across in Punjab and Balochistan, to give it back to the community. The partnership of the company with multiple NGOs to work on the recyclability of plastic. I don't know if many of you know this or not. In Islamabad, Coke did put up a first plastic road where about 10,000 tons of plastic was repurposed and was integrated with the infrastructure means. And similarly also that how from a purpose point of view, making a difference point of view, what could you give back to the people from celebrating or recognizing the people resilience as well. So even at the last time the flood, Coke was there, and we helped with about 0.5 million meals to the flood affectees. We are still committed in terms of what we could do in the next phase of where how could we help to rehabilitate those. So number one, to conclude my remarks, refreshing the people, not just through by the product, but by spiritually, by emotionally as well, and by getting into the points which they are very, very passionate about. And also as a company, from a purpose point of view, how do you make that bigger difference, a difference on the communities, difference on the nation, which is beyond your profit, which is beyond selling your product to them, by committing yourself to the sustainability, environment, and people development initiatives.
Excellent. That was indeed a comprehensive answer, and we've just seen that Coca-Cola is touching the right chords. Music is something that this nation is very, we feel music, we're very emotional about music. Sports is what keeps, what drives us, what brings us together. Ladai ho rahi hogi, lekin sports ke mauke pe sab ikkathe ho jayenge. And then of course every Coca-Cola employee is an ambassador of all that you are giving back to society. Excellent. Thank you very much. Harun Saab, I'd like to come to you. Mashallah, you oversee multiple businesses, and in the pharma industry, where you've been working for more than 2.5 decades, and you're now, mashallah, one of the top pharmaceutical companies in Pakistan. This is a sector where ethics, purpose, it has a whole different meaning. So I'd like to ask you, have there been moments when pursuing purpose, when doing what is ethically right, has come before your commercial bottom line, and how has that in the long run impacted your business bottom line or your business philosophy?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Rabia. Before I delve into the question that you asked, let me pose a question to the audience and to the panel. How many of us would like to go to the hospital or to the medical doctor by choice? Anyone here would want to just visit the hospital just for the fun of it? No one actually does that. And no one even wants to take a medicine by the choice. You would probably drink a Coke, you want to refresh yourself, but you wouldn't take a medicine. So what the pharmaceutical or the overall healthcare sector is selling, we are selling hope, we are building trust. And I think that's the center of the DNA of any healthcare profession that we have to really believe in. So the purpose of our company, Farmevo, has been from day one, dream of a healthier society. We want to build a healthier society by enabling people to live healthy. And how do we do that is, contributing to the society in the larger context of dream of a healthier society. The question that you asked, how the purpose have ever been, come into the business prospects. Yes, I remember an incident or a large-scale product recall happened in 2018. There was a molecule called valsartan, which is for the hypertension patients which have to manage the blood pressure. And the global valsartan molecule had to be recalled by the supplier, not only in Pakistan, I'm talking about the global companies, and the large pharma companies had to recall that product. I don't want to name any names. If anyone is interested, we can chat on the tea break. But what happened in Pakistan, of course, our Drug Regulatory Authority also asked the companies who are manufacturing the product to recall that medicine. And okay, love behold, true is what happened, that many companies recalled partially, many companies kind of, did the way around of that product. We had the dilemma at our company because this was our, I think, the third largest contributing brand in our portfolio. And we were at a discussion within the company, within the teams, and we all had a different opinion, and the few were of the opinion that we had to do a complete recall. And let me tell you, this was about 400 million rupees brand at that time. That is, I'm talking about 2018. 400 million अगर लोगों को थोड़ा अगर रुपए में इसको करें तो 40 करोड़ रुपए का ही एक ब्रांड है जो इसकी सेल है. So हमारा जो पर्पस था, ड्रीम ऑफ अ हेल्दी सोसाइटी, देन वी सेड अगर कोई भी बैच उसमें अगर वो प्रॉब्लम है, बिकॉज हमने वो रॉ मटेरियल नहीं बनाया था, रॉ मटेरियल वाज सप्लायर फ्रॉम द ग्लोबल मार्केट्स. If that was a global recall, so we should completely recall the product. Not a single pack should be in the market. And I think that was the purpose behind our DNA. So as a team, we completely lost that market of 40 crore rupees on overnight basis. But that gave us the confidence as a company to tell the medical community that we are the only company in the country that did a complete recall of that product. Not a single batch, not a single pack was in the market. The medical community was not sure, but then we proved them that, this is a complete recall, and they had the confidence in us that, this company walked the talk, the purpose, the DNA, and eventually, by the grace of God, by the effort of the team, alhamdulillah, we are back to after 5 years, in 2023, we came back to our original sales volume, and that is, we kind of cherish within our company, within the team, within the senior management, and even the leadership, that we walked the talk, we had our purpose, we kept the purpose in the top of our priorities, and alhamdulillah, that was kind of a learning for all of us, that an opportunity came, an incident came where we had to take a bold decision, a decision which could impact the bottom line as well, and which did impact the bottom line. But as a business, I think it helped us in the longer term. And now, whenever we go to the medical community, whenever we launch a new product, that's a complete different ball game. And the customer, the patients have a different level of trust in what they consume the medicine from Farm Evo then. So this is what I can share.
Thank you, Harun Saab. I'm sure this is one out of several examples that you must have at your organization. And
actually, only last night, since you asked, it's about 8 p.m. I was in the office about to leave, and somebody, my finance guy came in. So this is one of the incidents that is happening. I said, no, we are not going to do it. And I called my deputy. He said, no, sir, we don't want to do this sales. So we said, thank you very much. We almost 30 million sales overnight. We said, no, we don't want to do this sales because there was some corruption involved in this. We said, thank you very much.
MashaAllah, excellent. And what I was going to say was that every single leader at your company, a stage, if that stage has come, that every single one of them knows that I'm going to take this ethical decision and I'm going to have the nod of, my managing director, and I don't even need to ask him. I think that's the kind of confidence we need to give to our team members when they have a dilemma, but they have to choose the right thing. So thank you very much for that. Harun Saab, I'm going to come to our online participant, Asif. I hope that you're able to listen in to all these amazing points that we are discussing. So you've been in the tech sector for many, many years, Asif, and this is a sector which is defined by very monumental disruption, quick changes. It moves so fast. Sometimes technology is moving at such a fast pace that purpose gets lost in the rush to innovate, in the rush to be part of that race. So how are you making sure not only in your current role at PTCL, but in your career, that what you're doing uses tech for positive impact and not just for productivity?
So thank you very much, Rabia. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for, first of all, inviting me and also accommodating me online.
I think we need to turn up the volume a little bit. Sound? Sorry. Go on, please.
All right. So, Rabia, this is an interesting question, especially coming from our technology background and working in the technology sector. And as you rightly pointed out, the speed is so fast and the expectations are so high that it is always an effort to keep the direction intact and to keep moving in that direction. But having said that, I tell you, this is also a great enabler. You know, when we speak of technology sector, and when we especially not less of sector, more of technology, it is also an enabler to move faster towards your objectives and to ensure that the direction remains intact. There are certain things that I believe everyone must consider. The objective and the purpose, as we speak about before, has to be very, very well integrated into the culture of the organization. Your people need to believe in what you believe as leaders. The masses need to rally behind you for those purposes. I mean, you started off your conversation and you asked everyone that, you know, what's beyond profit? And unfortunately, my turn didn't come. But I wanted to tell you on a lighter note that it's usually more profit. What is beyond profit is more profit. So, you know, mostly the mindset starts to work in that way. And I tell you, profit is very good. So there is nothing bad in having good profit, because the good profit or the profit helps you do so many good things. If you don't have profits, you cannot innovate much. If you don't have profits, you cannot develop your people. If you do not have profit, you cannot add more value into the lives of your customers and your employees and your partners, right? So I think the important thing is culture. I was studying, I was taking a course from an American university, Rabia, and I remember it was more about strategy and all. And professor was a very decorated from academics. He mentioned that any good strategy would always lose to a bad culture. Now, how you develop your culture, how you inculcate those values into the people that keeps the direction, needs a lot of effort, and it rather needs a lot of action, more than words. You need to live those values. You need to make certain decisions which reflects on your values, rather than at the end of the day getting into pressure of profits and making again a wrong decision. That is how you set your culture, and that is what really helps you keep your focus and keep moving in a particular direction where you want your organization and your people to follow. So if this answers your question.
Thank you, Asif, and thank you for answering both questions in one go. So you have mentioned about the importance of profit, which I think nobody can disagree with. We're going to talk about this a little more when we come towards the end of the discussion and when everything comes together. Now, Momina, you have an HR background. You've been developing human capital strategies, aligning them with business strategies, and mashallah, you've had very diverse experience, telecom, FMCG, and now banking. So how have you seen, as an HR professional, how have you seen purpose evolve over the years, especially in very fast-paced corporate environments?
Thank you, Rabia. I think purpose has greatly evolved from becoming more of a CSR or a PR line to becoming the strategic DNA of the organization. As Asif rightly said, it has to be believed, it has to be part of the value system of the organization. And you know, it has impacted the entire value chain of organizations, from product development, customer experience management, to people retention and how they're hiring, what skills they're hiring, and also the incentives and pricing framework of the organization. So, for example, in the FMCG sector, I work with Nestle and PepsiCo International. It's more about sustainable sourcing and building healthier portfolios. At technology or telecommunication sectors, it's about digitization and connectivity. And for the banking sector, it's about financial inclusion and trust. So this is the purpose that has become core to all of these industries and to these organizations. So for example, at OICCI Bank, it is absolutely important for us to have a product portfolio that caters to the needs of our diverse customer base all across Pakistan. We need to ensure that people outside of the bank in our rural communities have financial literacy and the awareness to manage their budgets and to manage their finances, especially women who can become financially independent through microloans or entrepreneurial loans. So it becomes part of our responsibility, and the actions that we take follow. Similarly, we build this purpose into the digitization journey and through in the customer experience and customer services value chain to ensure that our customers have a smooth and a more friendlier experience. So purpose evolving from being just a line on the wall and is becoming more inspirational. It is also driving the younger workforce to stay with organizations for longer because they do connect with purpose, they do connect with impact, and that gives them a sense of meaning to the work that they do. However, Ravi, I also think that this cannot be done fully and truly without it being measured, because at the end of the day, what gets measured gets done. So unless and until we put KPIs and performance metric systems within the organization structure, we will not be able to sustain the true purpose-driven culture. And even when, in high stress circumstances or in high pressure environments, it is the true test that keeps organizations aligned to their purpose if it's part of their DNA, their value system, their KPI and performance metrics, and no one is then allowed to cut corners.
Excellent point, Momina. Thank you so much for bringing up the importance of being able to measure whatever we are there to do. It's not just measuring other forms of tasks, but also how to make purpose part of your measurable KPIs. Excellent. Thank you very much. We're going to have to speed it up a little bit now because we have to explore two other areas as well. So I'm going to come to Mohammed Samiullah. So Samiullah Sahab, you are the Vice President of ICAP that represents the highest standards of professional integrity. At the same time, OUP, the organization that you're working with, operates at the intersection of education, literacy, publishing, and social impact. So for an organization where social purpose defines what the organization exists for, profitability is often supporting the mission rather than defining the mission. So how are you striking that balance in your role at OUP?
Thank you. अच्छा, आज की जो topic है इस पे profit is not a villain. So having a profit in the whole chain, this does not mean that we forget about purpose, we forget about progress, we forget about our people. And when you say balancing between the two, I would really not say you balance actually, because profit is an outcome. Profit is something which comes when we achieve complete a journey, complete a cycle. But to do that, what really drives is the purpose, And when we come to the purpose, for example, you talked about OUP. So the purpose is reaching to the people, reaching to how many kids, as we talk about KPIs, how many kids are reading the content, how many teachers are we touching? How many teachers are we training? So that is the core of complete operational strategy or financial strategy or the people strategy that we talk about. So when we say the purpose, it really drives the complete strategy, and we just talk about the culture that really embeds into the minds of the people, the activities that we perform. And of course, as you mentioned, the profit really enables to deliver of your purpose. So I would say we really do not balance. It's about the priorities. You set the priorities, and of course, having setting the priority, purpose comes really at the top, and rest are the enablers when we talk about people and we talk about the progress. So that's how I would mention.
Thank you. I think that's an excellent point. You've put purpose as at the top, and you've put everything else as enablers. I think we're going to come back to that when we wind up the discussion. So, Ma'am Andalib, mashallah, you're a multi-talented, multifaceted professional. You're driving impact, driving innovation, and you're enabling individuals, organizations, communities, and leaders. So, you've coached and mentored leaders across various industries. And you must have felt that at some point, senior leaders especially do tend to lose their sense of purpose, especially when success looks very financial, when it is driven by numbers. You as a coach, as a trainer, as a mentor, how do you help them reconnect with their purpose and keep them on track, bring them back on track?
So Rabia, this is very interesting, and I was just listening to the conversations. I think we are talking about profit versus purpose versus people. It's not versus. वो ज़माना गया कि आप सोचते थे कि जी आपने अगर socially responsible होना है तो it's going to cut your profits. In a time which is so overflowing with information, अब measurable है. And that's what I tell leaders, and I work with leaders, that your profits are going to be fueled by the purpose. और जितनी organizations आप देखें, अगर आप profit बनाना है और आपका मकसद वाज़िया नहीं है, to people who buy or to people who work with you, they are not going to stick. The customer is not going to stick to you, and the people are not going to stick to you. Because अब ये prove हो गया है, and I have got research on that, and we share it in board meetings with people that I work with, कि those organizations who have purpose and who have a value system, उनकी economic resilience, financial resilience जो है, they outperform those organizations which don't have 2 times. They earn return over equity 13.1%, which is 9% higher than S&P. So it's not that they are one or the other. You can't earn sustainable profits if you are, आप सोचिए ना, what is the meaning of existence? Why do you exist? Or you'd be talking about Gen Z. Gen Z is the major challenge for people these days. Gen Z, मैं बिल्कुल मोमिना से agree करती हूँ. सबसे बड़ी चीज़ वो जब देखते हैं, एक तो obviously we are talking about कि financial resilience तो company देख रही है. Gen Z देखते हैं कि जी, do I have a sense of belonging when I work in this company? Is this company going to treat me as a cog in the machine? Or is this company going to treat me for a higher purpose? Am I working over here to make a software? Or I'm working over here to make a device which is going to save people's lives? The minute you tell him, you have to make this device and we are going to reduce its boot time by 10%, that's your job, they will work, but they will not really work. But the minute you tell them that when you reduce the boot time by 10 seconds, you're going to save 2 lives at least, they will work with you even for less money. So purpose brings profits. And that is what I have practically seen. I mean, you take customers. शू कंपनी है, एक बड़ी आम सी शू कंपनी टॉम्स. अब वो कोई इतने ख़ास डिफरेंट फैशनी जूते नहीं बनाते, बट उन्होंने क्या किया, उन्होंने कहा कि जी एवरी टाइम यू बाय दिस शू वी विल कवर 1 बेयर फुट. एक नंगे पाँव को हम कवर करेंगे, आप जूता खरीदें. और लोगों ने खुल के पैसे दिए. And they are one of the top companies in the world. So purpose brings, and I agree that it brings economic resilience in the company, profit resilience aati hai, talent magnetism aata hai. You can hire talent, you can keep them. I was in a similar forum, मेरे साथ इरफान साहब बैठे हुए थे मीज़ान बैंक से, and he said शुरू में जब मैंने बैंक बनाया और हमने कहा जी हमारा पर्पस लार्जर पर्पस है और हमारा पर्पस सिर्फ एक बैंक नहीं है, वी वांट के पाकिस्तान के अंदर सारे बैंक्स, एंड ही इज़ टॉकिंग अबाउट 1997, के सारे बैंक्स जो हैं वो इस्लामिक मोड ऑफ फाइनेंसिंग पे आ जाएं. ही सेड वी हैड द हाईएस्ट एप्लीकेशंस, डिस्पाइट कि मैं उस वक्त अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता था कि मैं पैसे दूं ज़्यादा, बट द पर्पस attracted people. And then we have conscious consumerism, because conscious consumerism के अंदर जब ये लोग इतना कुछ देखते हैं, ये बच्चे इतना कुछ देखते हैं, तो ये सवाल करते हैं कि हम कहाँ काम कर रहे हैं, हम क्यों काम कर रहे हैं, हम किसके लिए काम कर रहे हैं. And the customer also questions that. That is why you have Allbird from New Zealand, छोटी सी, सब आजकल वो जूते पहन रहे हैं Allbird के, वो जॉगर पहन रहे हैं बिकॉज वो कहते हैं कि क्लाइमेट रिस्पॉन्सिव जूते हैं वो. तो वो सारे बच्चे आपको कहते हैं ये क्लाइमेट को हार्म नहीं करेंगे. दे डोंट लुक एट द प्राइस टैग. सो एक्चुअली बीइंग सोशली रिस्पॉन्सिबल एंड बीइंग पर्पस ड्रिवन brings profits, and my biggest role while I'm working with in the boardrooms is to show them that numbers will climb if you are purpose driven and socially responsible.
Thank you, ma'am. Spoken like a true motivating coach. What you've said is that purpose is going to attract the right talent, and purpose is what is going to bring you profits. Like Asif also said, profit ke aage aur profit. और उसी profit से then you are supporting the communities and you're supporting your people. So हमने ये determine किया कि purpose is not charity. Purpose is a long-term strategy, which brings long-term trust. So now this brings us to the people that are going to drive your purpose, who are at the heart of the organization. और मोमिना इस पे हमारे साथ मज़ीद बात करेंगी because she's the HR professional here. So मैं start मोमिना से करूँगी. एक तो younger employees के बारे में बात हुई, आपने भी बात की है, मैम एंड दिलीप ने भी बात की है कि उनको आज मीनिंग चाहिए, उनको फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी चाहिए, उनको इंक्लूजन चाहिए, उनके व्यूज़ बहुत उनके व्यूज़ दे आर वेरी अवेयर. और अभी हमने भी अपनी कॉन्फ्रेंस में अभी कुछ बिकॉज वी वर्क विद ऑल दीज अमेजिंग वॉलंटियर्स, हमारे साथ काम करते हैं ये कॉलेजेस के बच्चे, और हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में भी वी हैव we've had a few Gen Zers and it's a completely different mindset. हमारे बच्चे, I think हम सब we are parents to Gen Zers. So आप ये बताएं कि अब वर्क प्लेस को कैसे इवॉल्व किया जा रहा है, because these Gen Zers are big contributors now, and आप कैसे उनकी expectations को, how is HR balancing their expectations with your business realities? And we're going to have to keep the answers shorter now, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it's first and foremost, it's very important again to be very clear about the value system and the purpose of the organization that we've established. However, at the same time, our younger generation is also very conscious about timely recognition, reward, and feedback. And we have to incorporate that. They're also very conscious about an inclusive culture. They're demanding an inclusive culture. They're demanding flexibility, and they're demanding a hybrid work options and opportunities. But that's also very largely, flexibility and hybrid work is also very largely dependent on the business operating model. कि क्या चीज़ आप flexible कर सकते हैं, कहाँ पे आप hybrid work लेकर आ सकते हैं. Is your infrastructure, digital infrastructure strong enough to be able to give them avenues for communication, avenues for engaging digitally? Are you giving them visibility? Because inclusion also means building collaboration and giving these people visibility. If someone is working remotely, how are they being recognized? So we have to build all of that in the performance measurement system, where we build systems to measure productivity and not time spent in the office, where we have very clear KPIs of output and delivery, and basis that we recognize, we grow individuals, and we provide them learning opportunities. Now that also requires a huge leadership mindset shift, because a lot of the leaders are still, older millennials who have not maybe seen this before COVID, or this kind of work environment and this high demand. So leadership mindset also has to shift. So HR is also working on developing that leadership mindset for them to be able to manage the expectations of younger generation, and also grow them and give them the right visibility, the right rewards, and right recognition. So all of that combined will only contribute to making sure that our younger population and younger employees are engaged, they're more connected, they feel a sense of belonging, they're included, and they're rightly and timely rewarded.
Thank you very much, Momina. And when you were speaking about these challenges of how to keep them included, my mind went back to the COVID period, when we all saw our children become less socially active, less interested in meeting people, less interested in changing out of their pajamas the whole day. And I think what you've touched upon a very important area, that it has not only, it has also forced, I wouldn't say forced, but prompted organizations to improve their digital infrastructure, to make sure that they're able to include more and more people who are working remotely, or whose work requirements are different. So thank you very much for that. Harun Saab, I'll come to you. So your industry is high stakes, it is very highly regulated. So how do you build a culture of empathy as well as accountability in such a high stakes industry, such a highly regulated industry?
So जैसे मैंने शुरू में आपको कहा था कि healthcare industry is more of a compassionate. We don't go to the hospital or to the doctor के just for the fun of it. So what we have tried के the word employee, we have tried कि this should not be used in the organization. From Evo se we have cultivated a word called Evodian, so it's more inclusive of all the people in our organizations. Empathy in the sense that our entire people workforce, all the Evodians that work in the organization, we try to build, we have over the years built a culture of respect. Generally, जब आप as an MD or a senior management, जब आप किसी कमरे में जाते हैं और जहाँ पे जूनियर बैठे हैं, तो नॉर्मली वो आपके सीट से खड़े हो जाते हैं. हमारे यहाँ एक कल्चरल वो है, तो हम अपने लोगों साथियों से यही कहते हैं ऑडियंस है कि भाई ठीक है, रिस्पेक्ट अपनी जगह है, बट प्लीज डोंट स्टैंड ऑन द सीट ऑन योर चेयर्स टू जस्ट फॉर द रिस्पेक्ट. दिस इज़ हाउ वी हैव बिल्ड द कल्चर ओवर द ईयर्स. एंड हमारा जो वर्क फोर्स है वो कॉन्स्टेंटली इंटरैक्टिंग विद द patients as well as with the medical community. So they have to build that empathy, because the patient is the core of our healthcare thing. तो patient benefit की जब हम बात करते हैं तो हम कोशिश करते हैं कि हमारे जो Evodians हैं उनको भी उनका भी हम ख्याल करें, उनका भी take care करें. And that's how we build the culture कि जहाँ पे empathy has built in our DNA over the last many years, and everyone has the respect in the company, in the organization, whether they are going out of in the field, whether they are working in the company over weekends and Saturdays and Sundays. So this is how over the years we have tried a culture of respect ho, culture of family ho, and that's how we try to hold people, and we have grown over the years because of our own people.
Excellent. Thank you very much. मैं आसिफ के पास जाना चाहूँगी. हम पहले बात कर रहे थे कि टेक सेक्टर का एक सर्टन मिजाज है, एक सर्टन pace hai jis pe log kaam karte hain. And also in the tech sector, retention is a problem, whereas it is growing very quickly. It's also very difficult. It almost seems as if, you know, every organization is like a launch pad, it's like a training ground. So aap apne you know, organization mein, how are you making sure that people feel that they are growing, not just working? In an industry jahan pe, you know, codes, disruption, speed of work itni important hai, wahan pe aap ek people based culture pe kaise kaam kar sakte hain? And I'll request short answers now, please, because we'd like to take some questions from the audience as well.
Thank you very much, Rabia. I'll try and keep it short, but before I do that, I want to touch upon a previously asked question of the expectation and the purpose when it comes to Gen Z.
Sure.
So I have a slightly controversial, I would say, or a not so common point of view on that. This Gen Z that we're talking about, or we keep talking about different forums, Rabia, this Gen Z is a very small percentage. I mean, from an age point of group, yes, we have a big group. But this attitude of Gen Z is a very small percentage of English medium schools children, very privileged, and the abundance of good, abundance of blessings have driven this attitude in our country to a great extent. So this attitude, you know, needs to be, I think, improved. We need to have stronger men, stronger women who can work without their purposes being served or the environments that they would like to enjoy. They need to be strong enough if they want to lead tomorrow's Pakistan. So, ये क्योंकि हर जगह ये चीज़ discuss होती है, so this is not an ideal mindset or ideal generation that we need to follow. We need to be very cautious about. Most of these children and this generation need to learn more and has to go through the test of time. So because aap log baat kar rahe the, and this always bothers me, so I thought I'll take this opportunity and share my point of view, so they are not
excellent point, and I can see the parent in you, the parent in you also speaking, because I think that's something that we all share. हमारे बच्चों को पता ही नहीं है, इनको समझ ही नहीं है.
Majority of Pakistanis उस age group वाले वो Gen Z attitude नहीं carry करते, वो बच्चा जो है वो आज के अपने basics necessities के लिए लड़ने के लिए तैयार है, and that's the strong men and women that we need. Not those other times, right? So, coming back, of course, you know, this is a serious issue, right? So, resource retention in the country as we speak, but then we need to understand, why do people leave? You know, it's not that they are leaving, and what do we need to do? So, there are multiple different drivers, right? So, of course, financial is number one. I mean, we speak a lot about purpose. But I tell you, Rabi, if you actually get into, if you roll up your sleeves and actually get into the corporate and non-corporate SE sectors, you will realize that the number one reason why people are leaving and retention is becoming difficult is primarily because of financial reasons. I mean, आप कहीं जाते हैं, किसी को 2 लाख रुपए दे सकते हैं, किसी fresh grad को top engineering university से, you may be able to offer them like say $1,000 a month. Foreign direct hiring आती है और वो उसको $2,000, $3,000 टैक्स फ्री ऑफर कर सकते हैं. नंबर वन इस वक्त जो प्रॉब्लम है वो है, उसके लिए आपके पास 2-3 तरीके. एक तो अगेन आई गो बैक टू द वेरी बेसिक पॉइंट ऑफ प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी. सो बिकॉज इधर छोड़ना जो है पर्पस नहीं है. नॉट एवरीबडी, हार्डली प्रॉब्ली 5% may leave because their purpose is not being served. 95% are leaving because their financial demands or their financial expectations are not being met. Uske liye, of course, you need to generate more profits. You need to have more profits. You need to invest those profits back into the people. अच्छा, जब एक बार financial आपकी चीजें stable होती हैं, I would not say कि ideal होनी चाहिए, but they have to be at a stable level, and then you give them opportunities to grow as individuals, to grow as teams, to grow as companies, to grow as communities. You help them with more learning. You give them a future. You give them a career path. So there are multiple different things that you need to do. But having said that, it is much more difficult than it sounds otherwise, because this is a genuine problem. और उसके अंदर बहुत सारी चीजें beyond the company's sphere of influence. I've been in this industry, and thankfully you guys made me a bit more younger with 23, so this is my 27th year in the industry. And I'll tell you, recently जो मैंने देखा है, I used to head IBM Pakistan before coming into this role with the PTCL group. What I witnessed is every time someone was leaving the company, either they were going to be hired by someone internationally and work remotely, or they were being hired to move out of Pakistan. And every time I came across, number one reason was, I would say, factors which are not directly under the influence of the current employer. Sometimes it was security situation, sometimes it's health benefits, sometimes it's future of children, education, this and that. So it is like a difficult thing, but of course every organization needs to sit, put their heads together, find out and build up a culture and an environment that can keep the resources, engaged and keep going. So a short answer was that, otherwise we can spend hours.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd quickly like to, isi thought pe I'd like to go to Sami. So when we talk about people, it's not just your employees, it's also your consumers, it's other stakeholders. And interestingly enough, your employees are also your consumers, right, for the products of your company. And then there's a question of ethical business practices, which sometimes becomes, at times it is blown out of proportion, or at times it just takes, the news takes to it. And do you see your consumer expectations about ethical business practices or getting caught up in a controversy, and then your employees getting affected by that, and them double, questioning themselves, or questioning the organization, double guessing themselves, are we doing the right thing, are we not doing the right thing? So how do you manage this, this issue when you feel that consumer expectations or something that's been picked up by the news, which is related to some sort of ethical business practice, is affecting your people? And how do you keep them going? How do you keep them, bring them back and connect them to your mission again?
Thank you. So I think a couple of reflections.
Sorry, we have very little time left, so
yeah.
make it.
So when purpose have stronger value, they becomes movement. So if purpose are very powerful, they become movement, and the movement could be internal and the movement could be external. Externally on the brands, and there are many examples, whereas your question is more towards internally. So in Coca-Cola example, we are very passionate about that on our water stewardship, because carbonated drinks takes a lot of water in their production. So how can we give it back to the communities? And how do we stay true to the course of our purpose, and how do we monitor it? So just to give you an example, only 3 days ago, SDPI have released a report on Coca-Cola, the impact of Coca-Cola on the economy of Pakistan, with 240 billion rupees contribution in the GDP last year, to the efforts and the impact that we are making, the efficiencies we are bringing on our water utilization, usage, etc. The commitment that the company has on the reusable plastic, on the collection, going beyond, working with the government authorities, that by 2032, the company will reduce and collect and dispose 70 to 75% of the cans and the PET bottles that we are using, etc., etc. So if the companies have these purpose very well written, very well drafted, quantified, you are being validated by the external auditors also, then the organization, people also stay true, loyal to the organization. They stay very passionate to the purpose of the business as well. If you don't have these KPIs, if you don't have the direction, then you go and face a lot of issues. But with Coca-Cola, this is how we have drafted these KPIs, the purpose around sustainability, purpose around brand. So example, even on the brand, so our monitoring KPI is the brand love score. We're very, very passionate about, we are very, very serious about if there's a drop in a brand love score, why did it went down, what can we do about it? So that's how.
And I think it's about making sure that it travels down, right down to the junior most team members, so that everybody's sort of connected.
I'll take 30 seconds, right? I'll just take 30 seconds on this one. Right now in our workplaces, there are 3 generations working. So from Gen Z to millennials and Gen X, and every generation has a different dynamic, right? And how do you bring all the generations in a workplace where our previous generations believes in more in-person contact to the hybrid, and the Gen Alpha, which is right at the corner, they are very hyper-activated people, right? So how do you provide that workplace which absorbs everyone is a conversation. I'll leave it to this.
It's a whole new subject.
It's a whole new subject.
It's a whole new subject.
And we are very careful about it, that how do we provide that workplace where all the 4 generations could thrive.
Right.
That's creating a multi-generational workforce. That's a new aspect of DE&I, diversity, that organizations have started looking into.
Okay, so in the interest of time, we're now going to go to our last section, which is progress. So we have determined that it is people who are fueling this growth, which is long-term, and we've already discussed purpose at length. So now coming to progress, how to make it sustainable, and then going right back into profit and feeding the profit so that, you know, this loop keeps moving. Please, bataiega, Samiullah Saab, for an organization like OUP, one that measures your success not just in income but in impact also, what does progress mean?
देखिए मैं वापस लेके जाऊँगा
30 seconds, sorry.
जी मैं आपको बस वापस लेके जाऊँगा. आई थिंक एक शेर मुझे याद आ रहा है, सबक फिर पढ़ सदाकत का, अदालत का, शुजात का, लिया जाएगा तुझसे काम दुनिया की इमामत का. इंटेग्रिटी, justice and courage, these things are really important, that being built into the people, that will really drive your purpose, that will really drive your progress, and in the end, believe me, profit will not be compromised. So, and I will, you know, increase the canvas. It's not just the corporate, it's the value system that we have in our culture, in our society, the schooling system that we have, जहाँ से जो हम Gen Z की बात कर रहे हैं या Alpha की बात कर रहे हैं, वो from where they are coming in. So at that level, you know, we really need to work and inculcate these 3 basic elements if we really driving a nation and driving an organization are not 2 different things. And driving a culture, whether we talk about Alpha or you know, any, you know, new generations and new names will be coming up. So really focus on the people that will drive, you know, enable all those things. And obviously at the end, you believe me, profit is really there. Thank you.
That's something coming from a finance professional. Harun Saab, what does in the next 10 years, what does a truly purpose-driven pharmaceutical sector company look like to you? Quick answer, please.
I think the pharmaceutical industry in the healthcare sector has to look of, you know, beyond the current thing, and think we need to focus on the prevention rather than the cure. And I think this is what should be the transformation healthcare, where the company, the healthcare sector, you know, looks at the prevention rather than the cure.
Ma'am Andaleep, progress often in our world is defined by speed and pace. As a trainer, as a coach, as somebody who understands this a lot more than all of us, do you think sometimes slowing down, taking a pause, taking a deep breath is also a form of progress? Quickly, please.
It's a question of balance, and I can tell you, we live in a world where everything has become artificial, including intelligence. The social media is wonderful, but it, like everything, it has its flip side. So how you look, seem, appear has become more important than what you are. And progress will never take place on just the face value, the DP value of things, the DP value of people, the DP value of companies, the Insta appearances. I think progress will always be very firm if you invest in roots. And those are principles and values. Policies change, projects change, programs change, principles don't change. And as long as we invest in them, start looking at, are we going in the rat race? Because if we go in the rat race to be fast, even if we win the race, as Lily Tomlin said, we'll still be a rat. So That aspect is very important, and I've seen in my, let me tell you, companies who pause and reflect. I have seen people who go on retreats, and after that retreat, they come back and they are even faster. And in that going faster, it's like running and then finding out that you're on the long rain. Long rain. So I always feel that people who go on a retreat and come back and reflect and start recovering their balance, in the long run, they are much faster. And they are much smoother. And they are much more accident-proof. So that I always recommend.
Excellent. I think we all need to go on a retreat. I think Asfar, the Nutshell team needs a retreat after this conference.
Asfar's looking at me.
So, Sami, koi ek major shift in the FMCG world that you see happening, driven by sustainability, driven by purpose in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think the biggest shift I foresee is going to be that things will move away from linear to being circular. So circular in terms of the plastic that we use in our product has to be a reusable one. The energy that we use for the production or the energy that is being consumed at the offices should be through reusable solar panels. So I think if I have to answer your question in a line from linear to cyclical.
Excellent. Quickly, Momina, one piece of advice for young professionals who want to lead with impact.
I think 3 words: consistency, resilience, and patience. A no or a rejection does not mean that you have limited potential. It means that you will be valued somewhere else. A failure would mean being consistent and putting in the right amount of effort so that you can do it right the next time and succeed. And patience. Good things come to those who wait. And I have a personal journey, my own personal journey has given me the faith that you will be at the right place at the right time. Just have patience. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Asif, what excites you about the future of tech in Pakistan?
One word: potential. There is huge potential in this industry in our country, and inshallah, with Allah's help, I really hope our country continues to grow. This is a great equalizer that we have, both in terms of our economic growth, the growth of our societies, the growth of our people, the growth of our youth. So I think huge potential, a lot of possibilities, and that's what we need to capitalize on.
One last question, Harun Saab, we've all heard about the ethical practices of your company and your own personal belief. Koi ek aisa leadership principle that you would not compromise on under any circumstances?
I think integrity, because if you don't have integrity, then you lose the trust that we try to build in the humanity, in the society.
Thank you. And I'm not going to look at the organizers because they're going to be staring at me to finish. I'm going to take 2 questions. I'm using this prerogative. Sorry, Asfar, you can kill me later. 2 questions, only 2. Please, sir.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
Please, if you could just keep it very brief.
जी, हारून साहब से मैं एक पूछना चाह रहा हूँ, what is the future of pharmaceutical industries? We are importing हमारे यहाँ 700 मिलियन डॉलर्स की इंपोर्ट हो रही है फार्मास्यूटिकल रॉ मटेरियल की, और 90% जो है हमारे पड़ोस मुल्क से आ रही है. तो व्हाट इज़ द फ्यूचर, जो हालात हैं आप उस बारे में कुछ करेंगे? डेप्रा जो है वो क्या करना चाह रही है आगे, कोई प्लानिंग है? मैं ख़ुद पाकिस्तान ड्रीम लेके आया हूँ कि मैं ऑयल स्टोरेज पे, बायोटेक पे और एजुकेशन पे काम कर रहा हूँ, और मुझे बहुत अच्छा रिस्पांस मिला है. एंड आई एम थैंकफुल एस एन असफर साहब का और उनकी मैनेजमेंट का, उन्होंने ये हमें फॉर्म दिया और इसमें हम एटलीस्ट अपनी आवाज़ आप लोगों तक पहुंचा सकते हैं. थैंक यू.
$700 million का import है of raw material, not only from the neighboring country that you referred. Let's name the country, India. It has gone down to almost like 40% now. Majority comes from China, because these are the 2 countries in the global market which manufacture the raw material. So we have to keep that in mind. It's not America or the Europe make any pharmaceutical raw material. Having said this, the reliance on India is getting less now, more focusing on China. Plus, the government of Pakistan is really pushing the industry for the local manufacturing of the raw material. And on top of it, we are already exporting about $500 million worth of pharmaceutical medicines. So that is also kind of bridging the gap in the raw material exports. So my take on the future in the next 5-10 years, there will be a lot of companies which will be setting up the raw material manufacturing in Pakistan, and we are more relying on the China and some other countries, especially like Korea. तो वहाँ से भी हमारा जो import bill है वो कम हो जाएगा.
Thank you. One more, please.
Yes. This is Anwar Nazami. I work for a multinational company in supply chain management in a leadership role. So thank you very much for this refreshing, I think, and very relevant, I think, discussion we just had. मेरे ख्याल से मुझे एक शेर याद आ रहा है एक्चुअली इसी बात पे कि वो सैफ अंदाज़े बयां रंग बदल देता है वरना दुनिया में कोई बात नहीं. Then the way you guys explain the 4 P's, I think it's wonderfully. I think you explained everything. But can we put all 4 P's into 1 C, and that is culture, the profit, the progress, the people, and the purpose into 1 C, and the C is not SEA, is a C of culture, because a very wise man, Peter Drucker, said once, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So if we do not have the right culture in place, we won't be able to execute the purpose we set for the organization, whether it's your personal goals or your organizational goals. So that's very important. So can we put all 4 P's into 1 C? That's my question. Thank you.
Momina, would you like to take that?
Yeah, it is for sure 1C. It is everything that we are talking about at the end of the day translates into culture, and culture is the behaviors that we see in the organization demonstrated by the leaders, the people, day in and day out. Usko hum culture kehte hain because that is what we can see on a daily basis. The rest, everything that we have talked about today, all the 4 P's are feeding into that culture and they make what the culture is. So yeah, we can do so.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and thank you so much for that last thought, because that has kind of summed up everything that we've discussed. And सारे लोगों ने जी, ma'am, would you like to also say something to this? Sorry. Yes, please, ma'am. It's working. Ji.
Sorry. You're talking about the 4 P's and the culture. Absolutely correct. Culture is the oxygen we breathe, is the air we have. उसके अंदर आप 4 P's भी डाल दें, 6 C's भी डाल दें, Gen Z भी डाल दें, everything. So culture can be toxic, and it can be exhilarating, and it can be exhausting. वो depend करता है leadership पे. Leaders make or break a culture. And उसके अंदर फिर ये सब चीज़ें आ जाती हैं. I agree, but at the end of the day, the culture can be devastating or very empowering depending on the man who's designing and implementing the culture.
I think that's an excellent summing up. एक quick show of hands करते हैं यहाँ बैठे हुए जितने लोग हैं. How many of you believe that the culture of your particular organization is aligned with your stated purpose?
जिनके bosses बैठे हुए हैं ना,
नटशेल के लोग हाथ उठा रहे हैं. Excellent. जी वाइंड अप करते हैं बिल्कुल. So thank you very much. We could go. Actually ये जो टॉपिक था, इस टॉपिक के अंदर टॉपिक्स और फिर उसके अंदर और फिर उसके अंदर. And I'm sorry for going a little over my designated time, but thank you so much, worthy panelists. It's been absolutely amazing, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have it for our panelists.
बैठे आप लोग बैठे प्लीज़. हाँ जी अभी बैठे हैं. अभी एक थोड़ी सी सोविनियर प्रेजेंटेशन है. राबिया ने आखिर में जो सवाल पूछा कि कितने लोगों की अलाइंड हैं उनके इसके साथ, ऑब्वियसली HR हेड्स बैठे हुए हैं सबके. Were you expecting कि कोई अपना हाथ नीचे रखेगा? मतलब उन्होंने दोबारा भी आना है कोर्स के ऊपर. But that was on a lighter note. But thank you so very much for such an enlightening discussion by so many specialized people, industry leaders जो यहाँ पे बैठे हुए हैं on the Beyond Profit, Purpose, People and Progress session. And I think there are a lot of key takeaways in this session. We talked about mutual respect, we talked about empathy, we talked about work-life balance, training and development, diversity, inclusion, and above all, we have to invest in principles and values and culture. That's the way forward. You know, we cannot forget our roots, integrity. All those are key words, key takeaways from this session. Thank you very much once again. We have a small souvenir presentation ceremony and then a group photo before we go for the caffeine break. I would like to call upon stage Mr. Nasir Akhtar, who is the chairman Infotech Group, and Mr. Kabir Naqvi, who is an entrepreneur in residence, and he also heads Abi Fintech. Can we have both these gentlemen on stage? And from Nutshell, I'd like to invite Ms. Onaiza Ali, who is the Chief Operating Officer, Middle East Nutshell, and Mehrun Nisa Azhar, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Nutshell Pakistan. Can we have you on stage too? Thank you very much. I'd like Mr. Nasir to give 3 souvenirs to the first 3 participants, and then Mr. Kabir Naqvi to the rest of the participants. Can we have Onaiza and Mehrun Nisa on stage, please? Okay. Mr. Sami Waheed, who is the General Manager, Coca-Cola Pakistan and Afghanistan region. Ms. Andaleep Abbas, Senior Advisor, Franklin Covey, Pakistan, spoke brilliantly today, very passionate. Mr. Harun Qasim, Managing Director, Farm Evo Private Limited, another industry giant. We are honored to have him in the panel. And now we can have Mr. Naqvi. Mr. Asif Ahmed, Group Chief Business Solutions Officer, PTCL. His souvenir will be sent to Islamabad. Muhammad Samiullah Siddiqui, Chief Financial Officer, Oxford Press and Vice President, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan. Momina Tarek, Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer, Askari Bank. Thank you, Momina, for joining us from Islamabad. And then Rabia Ahmed, of course, the Director and CEO Nutshell Group, who moderated this session. All right, can we have a group photograph now, please? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're going to have a quick tea break, caffeine break, as we say, and then we're going to come back for the next session, 8th session, the Financial Frontier Reform, Resilience and Renewal. I'd expect you all to be back on your seats by 11:45. Thank you.
मुश्किल हर एक ट्रांजैक्शन है, ये ऐप नहीं एक टेंशन है, मुश्किल से ही चलती है और कदम कदम पर रुकती है।
अरे इतनी परेशानियां तो अभी डाउनलोड करो एनबीपी डिजिटल ऐप।
कमाल की देर रात है यार।
2 मिलियन यूजर्स ऐसे ही नहीं बन जाते। तो आज ही नेशनल बैंक में अपना अकाउंट खुलवाएं। पाकिस्तान की तेज तरीन और आसान तरीन मोबाइल बैंकिंग ऐप से फायदा उठाएं।
तो अभी एनबीपी डिजिटल पर आओ।
नेशनल बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान।
मुश्किल हर एक ट्रांजैक्शन है, ये ऐप नहीं एक टेंशन है, मुश्किल से ही चलती है और कदम कदम पर रुकती है।
अरे इतनी परेशानियां तो
I request all of you to kindly be seated so that we can start the next session. It's going to be a slightly longer one before we go for the lunch break. Thank you.